How you doing there? Welcome back to Babylon Talmud. Today we're studying Daf Samach, Daf 60 of Masechta Sanhedrin. Friends, your friends. Okay, we're going to finish up the current sugya of Birkas Hashem and Shev Mitzvahs B'nai Noach and stuff. And then we're going to start the next Mishnah on Daf Samach and Beis of Avodah Zarah. It's going to get a little tricky. Yeah, it's been a long parak. I think it's like a 20 daf parak, and I think it's going to be tricky till the end, huh? Alright, I'm going to tell you. Alright, here we go. We're going to start at the very bottom of daf Nuntesamud Beis, the very, very bottom. Reb Shimon Omer, Af ala Kishuf. Reb Shimon says that hocus pocus is included in the Sheva Mitzvahs B'nai Noach. My time to Reb Shimon, how come Reb Shimon says this? The Chsiv, the Pasuk says, Mach Shefer Leischaye, that you can't let a Mach Shefer live. Now this reminds me of, tomorrow I'm flying back to Eretz Yisrael. One time I was on a flight, Mistama to Eretz Yisrael, and the people next to me, the woman next to me, all she could say is how the woman at the check-in was such a Mach Shefer. She was such a Mach Shefer. I think that's when I started saying Mach Shefer. I thought it was such a funny word. Such a Mach Shefer. I think she was calling me a tzaddik. Right, I think that was part of it too, right? She was such a Mach Shefer. Are you such a tzaddik? A big tzaddik. I don't remember why she kept calling me a big tzaddik. Maybe I was learning. Maybe it was already after Babylon Talmud. People that sometimes they get very, a little surprised that I'm learning the whole flight. I guess they don't expect Shmendrik to learn the whole flight. They come a little surprised, like, wow. Yeah, that happened the last time I flew also. Chassidish Yid sitting next to me. He says, wow, so you're learning the whole flight. I said, what do you want me to tell you? Guy, you ever heard of Babylon Talmud? He hadn't heard of it, but I also didn't say that exactly. My time to Reb Shimon Dichsiv, Mach Shefer L'Schaye. You can't allow Mach Shefer to live. And it says, Kol Sheichim Beimim Bos Yumos. Anybody who lies with an animal shall surely die. Kol Sheichim Bechlal. Kol Sheichim Beimo Yeshnu Bechlal Mach Shefer L'Schaye. So anybody who is not allowed to sleep with animals, including B'nai Noach, also can't be a Mach Shefer. Rabbi Elazar Omer Af al Kilayim. Rabbi Elazar says also B'nai Noach is not allowed to do Kilayim. How do we know this? Omer Shmuel says Shmuel. The Amar Krab, because the pasuk says es chukosai tishmoiru chukim shechakakti l'chakvar. That it says right when the pasuk says, what does the pasuk say? Let's read the pasuk. Es chukosai tishmoiru bem tcholas abei kilayim so tcholas igur kilayim uvei kilayim shadniz yalecha. So the pasuk is talking about kilayim, and it says es chuko. It starts out by saying es chukosai tishmoiru. My statutes you shall guard. Chukim shechakakti l'chakvar. The statutes from previously, i.e., that from the B'nai Noach. And then it says, Ben tcholas abei kilayim v'sod tcholas igur kilayim. Then it starts talking about kilayim, implying that the es chukosai tishmoru, that the chukim, that the shev mitzvahs B'nai Noach, or the mitzvahs of B'nai Noach include kilayim. So now the Gemara continues and says that we compare right and Sod. So just like by behemoths, we're talking about two animals that have already been born and developed, right, meaning two animals being with one, right, two, just like a horse and a donkey. So also when we talk about what's not by the mitzvahs of B'nai Noach, what's not allowed about kilayim we're not talking about planting seeds together. We're talking about taking two different species of trees and merging them together, right? Just like by the animals, we're talking about two different species of animals here, so we're talking about two different species of trees, like grafting trees, not necessarily planting. We're not talking about kilei akarim over here. And just like animals not intermating, so that applies, right? It has nothing to do with Eretz Yisrael. It's everywhere. So also this mitzvah of the avera of grafting, whatever, don't graft the trees, applies bein ba'aretz bein b'chutz la'aretz. But if we're saying that when it says eschukosai, it's talking about the mitzvahs b'nei noyach. Well, when the pasuk says ushmartem eschukosai v'mishpatai, shall guard my statutes and my judgments. So that's in a reference to the Torah. So would that mean that all mitzvahs apply to the b'nei noyach? Because we're saying that whenever it says chukosai, we're talking about the previous chukim to the b'nei noyach, and that applies to the whole of Torah apparently. So, and for the Gemara, Hasam ushmartem es chukosai dehashta. No, in that over there, but when it's referring to the whole Torah, it starts off not with es chukosai, but starts out with ushmartem. But over here, es chukosai tishmoru chukim d'meikar tishmoru. Kilo, what it's saying, so it's easier if we start with this one. Meaning this one, it goes straight into es chukosai. Which chukim? The earlier chukim, the Shev mitzvahs b'nei noyach. Tishmoru, that you should guard, and it talks about kilayim, so that means that kilayim is included in the mitzvahs b'nei noyach. But over there it says ushmartem es chukosai. In reference to all the mitzvahs of the Torah, it doesn't say my statutes you should guard. It says guard my statutes, i.e., guard guard from now these statutes, not the previous statutes. So by kilayim it says es chukosai tishmoru, so that's referring to Shev mitzvahs b'nei noyach. But by the Torah it says ushmartem es chukosai, so that's talking about the mitzvahs that were given to the Yidden at Har Sinai. Amr B'Yeshua ben Karcha v'chulei. So B'Yeshua ben Karcha then describes, how they would do the Mishnah says, Amr B'Yeshua ben Karcha b'choyim darnas ha'edin b'kinoi yaka yosi es yosi nigmar adin lo hargim b'kinoi el motzinis kol el machud shaz ha'gadol shebnei v'amr lech v'emr masha shmata etc. That's B'Yeshua ben Karcha. So now Amr B'Acha bar Yaakov says B'Acha bar Yaakov eno chayv ad shevarich shem ben arba osius. So says B'Acha bar Yaakov that when we talk about blaspheming, it's specifically talking about Yud Kei Vav Kei, the Shem Ben Arba Osius, the 4-letter name, the Tetragrammaton or something. Dennis, did I say that right? Lafuki Ben Shtei Osius, the exclusion of the 2-letter name. We're talking about the 4-letter name, Telo, that the 2, you would not be chai for the 2-letter name. Pshita, this is obvious, Yaki Yosi Es Yosi Tanan. The Mishnah says, Yaka Yosi Es Yosi. Yosi is a stand-in for Yud Kei Vav Kei. Right? Yosi has 4 letters. Just like Yud Kei Vav Kei. So of course we're talking about the 4-letter name. Of course we're talking about the Tetragrammaton or whatever that's called. So Ma'od Tema may have thought Milsa Ba'amu Dunakot Kamashman. Well, I may have thought that Yosi was just like, it could have been anything. Could have been Yosi, could have been Shmuli, could have been Sruli, could have been anything. Could have been Ben, could have been Avigdor. So it could have just been a random name. So no, Kamashman, it's Davka, a 4-letter name. Davka, the 4-letter name of God. Ikadam, those say, Omer Ravacha bar Yaakov, Shmamina Shem ben Arba Osius Nami Shem Hu. So there are those who explain that says Ravacha bar Yaakov, that what we learn is that the 4-letter name is considered the Shem Hashem. Pshita, that's obvious. Yosi es Yosi Tanan. It says Yosi es Yosi. Yosi is 4 letters names. So Ma'odetem may have thought Adika Shem Rabba Umilsa Ba'amu Dunakar Kamashman. No, I may have thought that Davka Rashi says we're talking about. I may have thought the 42-letter name of God, and when it says Yosi, it's just a random name. So no, Kamashman, that for the Avera of blaspheming, we're Davka talking about the Tetragrammaton. Nigma Adin V'chulei. So when the din is over, they say, okay, everybody have to leave, and then they stand up. So Om Din Minol. In fact, how do we know that they stand up when they hear exactly what this defendant said, what the blasphemer said? So Amar Bitzchak bar Amido Amar Cross. It's because the pasuk says ve'Ehud ba. I think it's in Shoftim, right? Yeah, it says Ehud came Elav to Egloin. V'Yoshev ba'aliyas hamikara shel levadai, and Eglon was darting alone in his attic. Vayomer Ehud, and says Ehud, Dvar Elokim li elecho. I have the word of Elokim, which is a kinui of Shem Hashem. It's not Yud Kei Vav Kei, it's a kinui. Vayokom yala kisei, and Eglon stood up. Balot varm kavachomer, and it's a kavachomer. Uma Eglon melech Moab shu nochri v'loy yoda ela bekinui. Eglon, the king of Moab, who's a Gentile, and all he didn't know the mamish, the Shem Hashem, the Tetragrammaton. All he knew was a kinui, Elokim, and still this Nochri stood up for a kinui, for the Shem Elokim. So Yisrael, a Yid, v'Shem HaMeforish, and the Tetragrammaton, Al Achas Kama V'Chama, certainly then they should stand up. Korin Minolan, how do we know that they rend their garments upon hearing what the blasphemer blasphemed? The Chsiv, as the apostle says, Vayovel Yokim ben Chilkiyo v'goymer, that Yokim ben Chilkiyo came v'shevna sefer v'yoyach ben Osof hamazkir el Chizkiyo krui begodim. They had their garments were rent. V'yagidu lo, and they told Chizkiyo as divrei Rav Shokei, and they said how Rav Shokei blasphemed, and their garments were rent. I think that's the word. Lo ma'achin, and then they never fix it. They leave their garments rent forever. Minol, and how do we know this? Amar babo asi kriya, because we make a gzer shava of kriya. Ksiva, it says over here kriya begadim, that their garments were rent. Uchziv asum, and it says by Elisha, when Elijah was taken up to the heavens, Elisha roye, that Elisha saw vumitzayik, and he's crying out, Ovi, Ovi, my father, Rechev Yisrael, Farosh of the chariot of Israel and its riders, and Elisha never saw Elijah again. Vayachazik b'bigadov, vayikroim l'shnayim kroim, and then Elisha tore his clothing into two tears. Once it already says that Elisha tore his clothes into two, en yodeshin kroim. Of course he tore it into two tears. What else is he going to tear it into two of? So matam lo kroim. Why does it say tears? Melamichein kruim lo olam. It means that they were left as tears forever. That they remained that way forever and ever and ever. They remained rent. Whether it is the person who hears the blaspheme, or whether it's somebody who hears what was blasphemed from a witness, from somebody who heard it. Chayev l'kroya, whether it is the first-hand source, whether it is the second-hand source, they both need to tear. And the witnesses, when they repeat to the judges what they heard, they do not need to tear their garment again. Where am I? Okay, because they already tore their garments when they heard the blaspheme. I don't know, what's the blasphemer blasphemes? So is the thing that the blasphemer blasphemed, is it called a blaspheme? Sure. To which the Gemara says, yeah, but I understand that they rent their garments when they heard the blaspheme, but they're hearing it again as they say it, so they should have to rend their garments. Nochamo, lo sagadatech nit. That it was when Chizkiyahu heard what Rav Shokei said, what he blasphemed. Vayikras begadov, King Chizkiyahu rent his garments. Ve'ahamelech Chizkiyahu kara ve'hem lo karu. King Chizkiyahu rent his garments, but they, the witnesses, did not rend their garments. Nochamo. A person who hears blaspheme from an Oved Kechavim does not need to tear Kriyavim. Tell me Rav Shokei. And if you say, well, then why did they rend their garments for Rav Shokei? Yisrael Mumar Hai Rav Shokei was a Yisrael who was a Mumar. And says Rav Yudah Mashmuel that Kriya is only for the Shema Miyuchad, for Yud Kei Vav Kei, for the Tetragrammaton. Bilvad, lafuke kinoi delo, to the exclusion of a kinoi, such as Elokim, not. Davka, we're talking about the Tetragrammaton. Now this argues Reb Chia, right? This requirement of, number one, that the blasphemer be a Yid, and number two, that it Davka be Yud Kei Vav Kei, that disagrees with Reb Chia. Those both of those, right? Reb Chia disagrees with both of those. The Amar Reb Chia says, Hashomea azkare, that somebody who hears blaspheme, a blasphemer, bisman hazeh, nowadays eino chayav l'kra. Somebody who is a blasphemer, bisman hazeh, he does not need to tear kriya. She'im i'ata omer king, if you say that he would need to tear kriya, nismale kol abeged kroyim, a person's, all of his garments would be torn up all the time because there's so much blaspheming that goes on. Miman. Now who's blaspheming? Ilim Yisrael mi pkire kule hai. What's the source of the blaspheme? Is it of the blasphemy? I think that's the word, blasphemy. I think that's a word. Blasphemy. Blasphemer blasphemes blasphemy. I think that's right. Dennis? Anyways, so who's blaspheming so much? Is it the Yidden? No way. The Yidden wouldn't blaspheme that much. Rather, it must be that it's the Ovdei Kochavim who are blaspheming all the time. And if we're talking about this Yud Kei Vav Kei, they're not familiar with Yud Kei Vav Kei. So Ella La Bekinoi, rather it must be that we're talking about Ovdei Kochavim who are cursing Bekinoi, blaspheming Bekinoi Vishmamino Bizman Hazeh Udelo, and Rav Yudah and Reb Chia is saying Davka that Bizman Hazeh we don't rend our garments because it would just be too much. All of our garments would be torn all the time. But Meikar Adin, really, you would rend your garments for blasphemy emanating from an Ovid Kochavim, even though it is not the Tetragrammaton. And then the second witness says, I heard the same thing. Right? He doesn't repeat the blasphemy. He says, I heard the same thing. So Amr Rish Lakish says something very interesting. Shmamino, so from the fact that the second witness doesn't actually have to corroborate explicitly what he heard, he just says, yeah, me too. Well, Shmamino, that af ani kamo kosher b'dinim amos b'dinim nefashos umalu davru abonon. That's Chaver, do you hear this? It's very interesting, extremely interesting. The fact that in this case of blasphemy, we allow the second witness to say, yes, me too, essentially, means that me'ikar adin, me too, works. And the fact that we grill the witnesses and say, tell me exactly what you heard, meaning not in every other case, not in the case of blasphemy. We're saying by blasphemy, you say, yeah, me too. But by other case, when we really drill down in the details and say, we need to hear, tell me exactly what you saw, technically speaking, by all other cases, you could also say, yeah, me too. Just the rabbis say, look, we want to make sure that we know exactly what's going on. But me'ikar adin, me too, seems to apparently work. Again, shmamina af'ani kamo, for a witness to say, yeah, me too, kosher b'dinim amonos and b'dinim nefashos technically works when it comes to dinim amonos and dinim nefashos, umaylu davru abonon. And the fact that we're stringent and require people to go into details and see, what exactly did you see? What exactly did you hear? So that's just a stringency. But in this case of blasphemy, came to lo efshar, but because we really, really want to avoid hearing the blasphemy more than we absolutely need to, the rabbi say, okay, look, midoraisa, me too, works, so we'll say that all he has to say here is me too, because because if you can say midoraisa, me too doesn't work, well then if midoraisa, me too is invalid testimony, how can we allow invalid testimony and kill somebody based on invalid testimony just because we don't want to hear the blasphemy again? If it's invalid, it's invalid. I'm sorry. But so the fact that we allow in this case to say, yeah, me too, means that me'ikar adin, me too is acceptable. And therefore, when he says me too, we can then execute somebody based on me too. And then the third witness, if there is a third witness, says yes, me three, be'etzem. So Samak Rab Akiva the Makish Gimel Shnaim. So that sounds like that's like Rab Akiva, who says that we compare three witnesses to two witnesses, right? Meaning by Edom Zomim, right? If there are three witnesses, so then all three witnesses need to be Edom Zobmin and are punished accordingly. So here also, Kilu, if there's a third witness, that third witness also needs to corroborate and be consistent with the other two. And now we get to the next Mishnah. Somebody who worships a getchke. That, again, Echad Ovid, whether it's somebody who worships a getchke, V'echad HaMizabeach, somebody who slaughters an animal for a getchke, V'echad HaMakater, somebody who burns an animal offering for a getchke, V'echad HaManasech, or burns anything, maybe, I don't know, V'echad HaManasech, and somebody who libates for a getchke, V'echad HaMishtachave, somebody who bows down, who prostrates himself before a getchke, V'echad HaMakablu Olav Le'eloya, and somebody who accepts a getchke as his God. V'ha'omer, and he says, Eli atu, you are my God. Getchke. Aval, amagapev, somebody who hugs a getchke. V'amenashech, somebody who kisses a getchke. V'amechabit, somebody who sweeps the ground, I think, before a getchke. V'amarbet, somebody maybe who maybe applies like some water or something to like the ground before a getchke or something. V'amrachet, somebody who like rinses off maybe a getchke. V'asoch, somebody who anoints a getchke. V'amalbish, somebody who clothes a somebody who clothes a getchke. V'amanil, somebody who puts shoes on a getchke. Over below saisi. So in that case, you're only in violation of a negative commandment, but you're not going to be chayiv misa for that. Unless, of course, right? That assumes that it's shalo kedarka. That assumes that it's not the normal way. So, meaning, if the normal way that you serve a particular getchke is to kiss it, that's the way you serve that getchke. You kiss the getchke, that's what it likes. So then you are going to be chayiv misa. Of course, you serve the getchke. But if it's a getchke that the way you serve it is to jump up and down 3 times in front of it, and you kiss it, well, that's not the way that you're supposed to serve it. You're supposed to jump up and down 3 times, so you didn't technically serve it the right way. So then you're just in violation of a lo sase, but you're not going to be chayiv misa. However, the other examples that we gave up until now, slaughtering an animal, burning an animal, libating, prostrating, those are universal ways of serving a getchke, and therefore even if that getchke you have to jump up and down 3 times to serve it, but you slaughter an animal in front of it, you're still going to be chayiv misa because those are universal ways of serving a getchke. Hanoder b'shmo v'makayim b'shmo, somebody who makes a neder in the name of the getchke, somebody who makes a shvu in the name of the getchke, over below saise, he violates a lo saise. Apoyer atzma leval por. So there's a getchke that's called by por, and what you do is you defecate in front of it. Yes, it's weird. Zoya avodasa, well, that's how you're supposed to worship it, and if you defecate in front of it, you chayiv misa. Hazoik even the markulis, there's a getchke called markulis, and the way that you serve that one is you throw stones at it, and if you do that, zoya avodasa, well, that's how you worshipped it in the way that it's meant to be worshipped, you're going to be chayiv misa. Azoy. Now, frakti gemara, my echad oved, right? If the Mishnah says ha'oved avodas kocham, somebody who serves the getchke, we said echad oved, ve'echad mizabeach, ve'echad mekater, ve'echad. So I understand what mizabeach is, I understand what mekater is, I understand what menasech is, I understand what mishtachve is. What is oved? I mean, oved is just serving a getchke. So these other things are included in serving a getchke. So what does it mean? What is it serve? What is referenced by serving a getchke? So my echad oved, whether it's somebody who worships, give me more details, be more specific. Amar Rabbi Yirmiyah, says Rabbi Yirmiyah, Hachi Ka'amar, this is what the Mishnah is saying, echad oved kedarka. So whether it's somebody who worships a getchke in its proper way, right? So for example, if you're supposed to jump up and down 3 times, and you jump up and down 3 times, or v'echad mezabech, whether you slaughter an animal, v'echad mekater, or burn an animal, v'echad menasech, or libet, v'echad mishtachve, or prostrate, those 4 are the universal ways to worship a getchke. Even if it's shalo kedarka, that's not the norm. You're supposed to jump up and down 3 times in front of it. You prostrated yourself in front of it. You're still going to be chayiv. Those are the universal ways of worshiping a getchke. V'lichshov nami zorik. Why not also include zrik, right? Throwing the blood of an if you slaughter an animal and then take the blood and throw it on the getchke, shouldn't that be included as one of the universal ways of serving a getchke, as Rashi points out? Because, for example, right, it says zvicha, right, slaughtering in the context of getchkes. I'm on the second wide line of Rashi. It says zvicha vayiz bichulo, and kitur, burning. It says asher chelus vachemo yochelu, and I guess that's burning it. And nisuch yishtu yen nesicham, right? So there is zrika also should be included in, like, the kinds of things that you do, those kinds of avodas that you do for getchkes. So Amar Abai says, Abai, zorek hainu menasech. Well, zorek is menasech t'chsiv bal asich niskeim midom. And so we see that asich is like menasech, nisachim, and also have blood, which is like the zrikas hadam. All right. Gewaldig. Alright, fine. Alright, let's go weiter. So how do we know that when it comes to these four universal ones, when it comes to Zivuach, Kitur, Menasech, and Mishtachave, how do we know that these are sort of universal avodas that you're going to be chayav for, even if it's not the normal way? The Tana Rabbanan, the Rabbi started, Ilu nemar zoveach yochoram. If the pasuk would simply say zoveach yochoram, the pasuk says zoveach leluhim yochoram. Somebody who slaughters for a avodah zarah is killed, is chayav misa. If it would only say zoveach yochoram, but didn't say leluhim, okay, Haisi Omer Zoveach Kodshim Bachutza Kosum Medaber. I would think, what's the slaughtering that you're killed for? For slaughtering Kodshim outside of the Beis HaMikdash, that's what it's talking about. It's not talking about Avodah Zarah, it's talking about slaughtering, right, Shchutei Chutz. So Tamlomer Lelohim, therefore it says, for a god, Ayi for Avodah Zarah, Zoveach Lavodas Kochav Makosov Medaber. Okay, fine. So if somebody slaughters an animal for Avodah Zarah, you are going to be chayev misa, whether it's kedarka, whether it's shelo kedarka. Ein li ela bizoveach. Okay, so all I know is slaughtering. Mikater umenasech minayim. What about burning? What about libating? Right, those are also, as we're going to see, avodos pnim. Those are also avodos that I think the point is that you do them in the Beis Hamikdash. Right, so we're going to see different categories of ways of serving an avodah zarah. I'll just say them now, or at least the ones that come to mind. There are what am I thinking? Right, there's derech kavod, there's derech bizayon, and now I'm also going to add avodas pnim because it's going to be relevant here. So there are certain things, like for example, we said that like by Baal Peor you defecate in front of it. That's really weird and strange, and so we said that's derech is humiliating. It's derech bizayon, right? There are certain ways to worship a getchke that's humiliating. That's derech bizayon. There are other ways of worshiping a getchke that's derech kavod. It's a michubad thing to do. For example, to slaughter an animal. For example, to, bow down in front of it, to hug it, to sweep the floor in front of it. These are honorable things to do, I reckon. And now we're saying that there's also another kind of thing, which is avodos pnim. Right, things that you would do, I think it means like in the Beis HaMikdash, for example, slaughtering, libating, burning. So therefore we're saying, so all I know from the pasuk of Zoveach Lelim Yocharam is slaughtering. How do I know also to include burning, libating, other things that are done inside, I think it means inside the Beis HaMikdash. So Talmud Lomar, Bilti Lashem Levado Reikon Rikena Avodos Kulan L'Shem Yuchad, that the avodos, that these avodas, these things that are done for Hashem, should be only done for Hashem and not for avodah zarah, and therefore so Zoveach, Kitur, Zoveach, Mizabeach, Menasech, Mekater, all of those would be you'd be chayav misa for. If you do it for avodah zarah, you can only do it for Hashem. The fishayotza zvicha lidon bavodos pnim. Okay, so we see that zvicha teaches for the avodos pnim, right? Mizabeach, mekater, menasech. They can be chayav misa even shelo kedarka. So minayin l'rabos ishtachavayos. So how do we know? Then also prostrating, bowing down, right? I think that as far as I can't think of bowing down in other than the Kohen Gadol. I think the Kohen Gadol on Yom Kippur I think bows down. Is that not correct? Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. But anyways, I think generally speaking, there isn't necessarily bowing down in the day-to-day in the Beis HaMikdash. So how do we know that bowing down is one of those universal avodas? Talmud Lomar, vayelech vayavod Elohim acherim vayishtachu loim. That it says that if you go and be ovid avodah zarah and prostrate yourself before it, v'samach and then it says, I think 2 psukim later, v'otzeisas ha'isha hu v'gomer and skila. So we see that you're not allowed to prostrate yourself before avodah zarah. That is sort of a global no-no. Ones shamaynu. Okay, so we see that you are going to be chayav misa for prostrating yourself before avodah zarah. Azhar minayin. Okay, so we see the punishment that you chayav misa. Where's the warning? Tamlomar kilos ishtachave le'el acher. Do not bow down to other gods. That is the warning. Shani marbe hamigapev v'amenashek v'amanil. So now the Gemara asks, wait 1 second. So now that we see that prostrating, you're going to be chayev misa for, and it's a universal avoda. So maybe we should all, maybe, right? Yotzim naklal lo, right? Kol yotzim, what was it? Kol yotzim naklal lo lilamed al atzmo yotza. Wow, it's from Rabbi Shmuel Omer, right? I don't know, I can't remember Rabbi Shmuel right now. But lo lilamed al atzmo yotza. It's not only right. What? Kol yotzim in a klal. Kol sheyotzim in a klal. Lo lilamed al atzmo yotza. El lilamed al klal kula yotza. Right. So therefore, if something is yotzim in a klal, so you have ishtachava, which is sort of just a one example of these avodas that are considered derech kavod, by ways of honoring. So maybe ishtachava is not only representing itself, but it's representing all honorable ways of serving getchkas. So again, right, maybe I'll include also hugging, v'amenashik, and kissing, v'amanil, and putting shoes on, different things that would be giving honor to the getchke. Talmud Lomar, zoveach, well, the pasuk also says, right, zoveach la Hashem yochoram, right? So it points out zvicha, now slaughtering is also a derech kavod. So now, why are we specifically singling out zoveach out of all of the honorable ways to serve the getchke? So zvicha bichlal hoisa, right? Zoveach was included in the category of honorable things to do for a getchke. V'lama yotza. Well, then why was it taken out of the general rule? Lahakish aleh. Well, it's to compare to it. V'loma lechama zvicha miyuchedes she'avodas pnim v'chayav aleh misa. And it's to say that, well, zvicha. So we're basically pulling out zvicha from the kavod ways of doing avodah zarah to say that zvicha and it as a representative of all of the avodos pnim. So mikater minasech, those you would be chayev misa for. So afkol shehi avodas pnim v'chayev aleh misa. So you chayev misa for mizabeach, mikater, minasech, and yotza ishtachavoya lidon ba'atzma. And when the pasuk points out to ishtachavoa, it's to say that it's only ishtachavoa. Otherwise, yotza zvicha. Where am I? Ishtachavoa lidon ba'atzma. Yotza zvicha lidon ala klal kulo. So basically, ishtachavoa is only representing itself, that and not the rest of the broader category of derech kavod. And zvicha represents, right, zvicha was taken out of the derech kavod to say that's this specific subset of derech kavod. Zvicha, mizabeach, mikater, minasech, that subset are sort of Yechayev Misa as universally. But in terms of the more broader derech kavod activities, only ishtachava would be chayev universally. So therefore, the universal avodas that you chayev misa for are mikater, mizabeach, mikater, menasech. Oh, come in, mizabeach, mikater, menasech, and shtachava. And Brielle got here just mamish at the last moment. I was about to finish, and we have I would say a message, but I don't know yet what it is. So, but we have, the floor is now Brielle's.
About what?
I don't know. What do you want?
I can do a back bend.
Brielle is now going to do a back bend.
I don't know if they can see me.
Brielle, I'm blocking you. Oh, that's good. That was everybody, did you see that? Brielle, do it again.
What?
Maybe they missed it.
Ta-da.
Ooh. That was really good. Friends, that was Brielle. Yeah, she hasn't been on Babylon Talmud in a long time. We'd have to find the previous episode when Brielle was there. It was probably a few years. So, Brielle's gotten much bigger. It's almost her bat mitzvah now. And, yeah, maybe we'll see Brielle again soon. Peace out.